Emerson. Just call me Gigi. And for everybody else, I'm Susan Walker. I'm an artist. This is my studio in Issaquah, Washington. And years ago, and we're talking 30 years ago, I was a first grade teacher. And I wanted to share some of those skills with Emerson as he's learning to read. He's a kindergartner, so join us if you can. Thank you. See you soon. Hi, Emerson. Just call me Gigi. Hi, Taylor. Hi, Parker. Hi, Abby. Hi, Izzy. Hi, Olivia. Hi, Finn. Hi, Evan. Hi, Jacob. Hi, Max. Hi, Remy. And now we're going to zoom north in our state of Washington up to the San Juan Islands and say, hi, Nico. Hi, Gus. And then we're going to go east, still in Washington State, and go to Chelan and say, hi, Davis. And then we're going to zoom farther east to another state, far away, Tennessee. Hi, Maddie. Hi, Miles. And then we're going to go even farther, all the way to the other side of the United States and say, to New Jersey and say, hi, Riley. Okay, my friends, today we are going to be working on the blend, ST. But before we start that, I found out some information, more information about monkeys and apes and whether, remember we said, how can Curious George be a monkey because he doesn't have a tail? So I went back into and started rereading from our nonfiction book called The Apes. I did some more research and I found right on one of the early pages, I found this sentence or two sentences. Unlike apes, almost all monkeys have tails. Do you hear the word almost? Almost all monkeys have tails. They need them for balancing. One kind of monkey from North Africa and Gibraltar does not climb trees much and has no tail. So I'm betting that Curious George was from North Africa or Gibraltar because he's a monkey with no tail. And then I also am going to show you another book that talks more about the gorillas. And remember, one of the most fascinating things about gorillas is when the male gorilla is defending, he goes through a series of steps. This is where he beats his chest. And I found another book about gorillas that tells even more about this behavior that I thought would be really fun to share. So let me go get the book. And I'm going to read you the section on gorillas before we get to the digraph ST. Okay, hang on. I'm going to turn the camera off for a minute. Okay, friends, this is a book called, the title of this book is The Unhuggables. And it says, The Truth About Snakes, Slugs, Spiders, Skunks, and other animals that are hard to love. And it's written by the National Wildlife Federation. This book is really cool because it has a table of contents right at the beginning. So a table of contents, which means it's a list of what is in the book by page number. So there is a chapter titled Wolf, a chapter titled Gorilla, that's the one we're going to look at, a chapter called Skunk, And it goes on: crocodile, alligator, rat, grizzly bear, spiders, scorpions, cockroaches, octopus, shark, vampire bat, leech, slug, worm, eel, snakes. But we're going to go to the chapter on gorillas, which you can see the number 10 here. That means it's on page 10. So here's page 5. There we go. Here's page 10. Gorilla. And each of these pictures has a caption underneath it that tells about the picture. And I'll read that one in just a minute. African natives called gorillas, quote, wild men of the woods, unquote. Early European explorers said the animals were beasts as awful as a nightmare. Even scientists once believed that gorillas attacked elephants with sticks and that they kidnapped native villagers. Today, probably only sharks rival gorillas as the ultimate movie monsters. And this is a picture of a very famous movie called King Kong. And the caption says, a panicked giant gorilla terrorizes a city of New York in the movie King Kong. Real gorillas, like the picture on the right, are actually gentle plant eaters and don't hurt other animals except in self-defense. So back over to the text here. It's easy to see why gorillas fascinate us so much. They look mean and strong enough to fight off any person or animal that gets near them. But looks are deceiving. Gorillas are shy. They normally move away to avoid danger rather than stand their ground and fight. Because they are plant eaters, they don't hunt other animals for food. However, if they feel threatened, they put on a show that's sure to scare away almost any intruder. At first, the strongest male in a group of gorillas makes soft noises, often while sitting down. He starts out calling slowly, then faster and faster and louder and louder. When he stands up, he rips up a newly bush or breaks a small tree branch and throws it into the air. Now comes the part gorillas are probably most famous for: chest beating. But the animal doesn't usually use his fist. Instead, he slaps his chest with his open hand. He may also slap his legs or a tree or the back of another gorilla. If the attacker doesn't leave, the male starts running right at it. At the same time, he slaps at anything that gets in his way. Suddenly he stops and bam! He pounds the ground with his hand. By now, most animals and humans would have run away. Scientists who have studied gorillas say the animals will not harm a person who stays in place. If a person starts to run, though, the gorilla chases him and bites him if he can catch him. George Schuller, a scientist who has spent a lot of time watching gorillas, found another way to keep some gorillas from attacking. He simply looked down at the ground and shook his head like he was saying no. Schuller did this whenever he surprised a gorilla out in the wild. It was his way of telling the animal, I mean no harm. Likewise, when he saw a gorilla moving near him and shaking its bent head, he knew that the animal was not going to hurt him. Scientists have also learned not to stare at gorillas for very long, even through binoculars or with a camera. The animals feel threatened when people stare at them, so they may attack in self-defense. Normally, gorillas move around in troops. Well, we learned that from the other nonfiction book. We already knew that. Okay, let me read that sentence again. Normally, gorillas move around in troops. A troop has up to 24 members. 24 is 12, my friends, and is led by an older male or a silverback, or called a silverback. All older males are called silverbacks because of the silvery hair on their backs. Besides the silverback, a typical troop may have one other adult male, 6 adult females, and 9 youngsters. A newborn gorilla, a baby gorilla, that's brand new born, a newborn gorilla normally weighs less than 5 pounds. That's even less than most newborn human babies. But by the time a male gorilla is 12 years old, he may weigh more than 400 pounds. A female weighs about half that much. So remember, friends, when we read the other book, I was trying to get you to imagine what 400 pounds is like. And my guess is that would be 2 or 3 or maybe 4 of your parents all standing together and in one big animal. That's how big a 400-pound animal is. A day in the life of gorillas is much like any other days. The animal becomes active soon after the sun comes up, about 6 o'clock in the morning in the tropics. They spend their time eating and searching for food, usually leaves, fruit, flowers, and roots. When a gorilla finds a rich source of food, it stuffs food into its mouth with one hand while snatching more twigs and leaves with the other hand. Even the heaviest gorilla will climb a 50-foot tree to reach tasty leaves. And that's what this gorilla in this picture is doing. But many gorillas refuse to wade through water for any reason. So this picture caption here says, gorillas climb cautiously and slowly. Although they spend most of the day on the ground, they occasionally take to trees to rest, eat, and look around. In this picture, this caption says, grooming helps keep their fur and coats clean and free of parasites that could carry disease. Often, a gorilla can groom itself, but sometimes gorillas help each other to scratch those hard-to-reach places. Back to the text. The silverback sets the pace for the entire troop. When he moves from one feeding area to another, the other animals follow. If he moves slowly, so do the others. If he runs, everyone runs. If he decides to stop and take a nap, the other animals also stop and rest. Scientists point out how much gorillas and people behave in similar ways. Gorillas yawn and stretch when they wake up in the morning. When they are undecided about which way to go or what to do, they stop and scratch their heads. People do the same thing at times. Gorillas and other apes also express curiosity, anger, jealousy, fear, affection, and pleasure. And like some human children, young gorillas have temper tantrums when they don't get their own way. Gorilla youngsters like to play. They swing on vines, they slide down hillsides, they wrestle. If the wrestling gets too rough, a young gorilla cries uncle by crouching down and tucking in its arms and its legs. The youngsters also play follow the leader, going up trees, down vines, across fallen logs, and even over sleeping adults. They keep on playing as they move with the rest of the troop in search of food. Members of the troop don't have homes to return to in the evening. Instead, the gorillas settle down wherever they happen to be when the sun goes down. They may bend down some branches in a tree or fold over some bushes on the ground to make a soft place to sleep. But day after day, year after year, for 25 or 30 years in the wild, a gorilla's life stays just about the same. Does that sound boring? Perhaps to a human, but to a gorilla, this is the way life is supposed to be. And this picture caption says about this picture, baby gorillas often ride piggyback, leaving the mother to move around more easily. That's the chapter on gorillas. And if you go to the public library, there's probably more books about gorillas and apes there that you can check out for free. Oh, okay, and now for today's phonics lesson. We're still working on digraphs, which are two letters standing right next to each other where the sounds blend together. You just smoosh the sound together. So an S and a T, st, st. It's pretty easy. Now, what makes it really cool about this particular blend is it can come at the end of a word, or it can even come at the beginning of a word. It can start it first or end it. So let's look at some examples. Short A. Fast. Fast. Like I'm sure most of you can run really fast. Okay? Here's another one. St. It's the beginning of a word. St. St. Now look at this. O, N, and silent E. We learned from the word ape that a silent E tells this vowel to say its own name. So this is going to say O, st, O, n. That doesn't say anything. Stone, stone, like a pebble or a stone. And in our book today, which is called The Amazing Bone, own, bone, bone. So the ST blend is really cool because you can find it at the front of a word and also at the end of the word, and the sound is the same no matter where it is in the word. So this is the author, William Steig, and the book we're going to be reading today is The Amazing Bone. And if we have time, we're going to be reading another one of his books called Sylvester and the Magic Pebble. And then if we even have more time than that, this is one of William Steig's books called Caleb and Kate. Our book today, the author's name is where the ST is. Steig, William Steig. And the name of this book is The Amazing Bone. And there's the word bone. Oh, silent E, don't say anything. Bone. Oh, say your own name. Bone. The Amazing Bone. And William Steig is the illustrator as well as the author. And as I mentioned last time, one of the reasons I love this author is he uses such interesting vocabulary. He has which is another vocabulary means words. So some of these words you might not recognize. It was a brilliant day, and instead of going straight home from school, Pearl dawdled. She watched the grown-ups in town at their grown-up work, things she might someday be doing. She saw the street cleaners sweeping the streets, and she looked in at the bakery on Parsnip Lane and saw the bakers taking hot loaves of pumpernickel bread out of the oven and powdering crullers with sugar dust. On Cobble Road, she stopped at Maltby's barn and stood gawking as the old gaffers pitched their ringing horseshoes and spat tobacco juice. Later, she sat on the ground in the forest between school and home, and spring was so bright and beautiful. The warm air touched her so tenderly, she could almost feel herself changing into a flower. Her light dress felt like petals. "I love everything," she heard herself say. "So do I," a voice answered. Pearl straightened up and looked around. No one was there. "Where are you?" she asked. "Look down," came the answer. Pearl looked down. "I'm the bone in the violets near the tree by the rock on your right." Pearl stared at a small bone. "You talk?" she murmured. "In any language," said the bone. "Habla español? Sprechen Sie Deutsch?" "I can imitate any sound there is." The bone made the sounds of a trumpet, calling soldiers to arms. Then it sounded like the wind blowing, and then it snored, and then it sneezed. Pearl couldn't believe what she was hearing. "You're a bone," she said. "How come you can sneeze?" "I don't know," the bone replied. "I didn't make the world." "May I take you home with me, wonderful bone?" Pearl asked. "You certainly may," said the bone. "I've been alone a long time. A year ago, come August, I fell out of a witch's basket. I could have yelled after her as she walked on, but I really didn't want to be her bone anymore. She ate snails, cooked in garlic at every meal, and was always complaining about her rheumatism and asking nosy questions. I'd be happier with someone young and lively like you." Pearl picked up the bone and put it gently in her purse. She left the purse open so they could continue their talk, and she started home, forgetting her school books on the grass. She was eager to show this bone to her parents, and she could guess what would happen when she did. She would tell about the talking bone, and her mother would say, "You're only imagining it." And her father would agree. And then the bone would flabbergast them both by talking. The spring green sparkled in the spring light. Tree toads were trilling. "It's the kind of wonderful day," said Pearl, "when wonderful things happen, like my finding you." "Like my finding you," said the bone. and it began to whistle a walking tune that made the going very pleasant. But not for long. Who should rush out from behind the back of a boulder and spoil everything but 3 highway robbers with pistols and daggers? Pearl couldn't tell what breed of animal they were because they wore cloaks and Halloween masks, and they were fierce and spoke in chilling voices. "Hand over your purse," one commanded. Pearl would have gladly surrendered the purse just to be rid of them, but not with the bone in it. "You can't have my purse," she said, surprised at her own boldness. "What's in it?" said another robber, pointing his gun at Pearl's head. "I'm in it," the bone growled, and it began to hiss like a snake and roar like a lion. The robbers didn't wait around to hear the rest in case there was any more, and they fled so fast you couldn't tell which way they'd gone. It made Pearl laugh. The bone laughed too. They continued on their way, joking about what had just happened and chatting about this and that. But it wasn't long before a fox stepped forth from behind a tree and barred their path. He wore a sprig of lilac in his lapel. He carried a cane, and he was grinning so the whole world could see his sharp, white teeth. "Hold everything," he said. Pearl froze. "You are exactly what I've been looking for," he went on. "Young, plump, and tender. You will be my main course at dinner tonight." And he seized Pearl in a tight embrace. "Unhand her, you villain," the bone screamed, "or I'll bite your ears off." "And who is that speaking?" asked the surprised fox. "I'm a ravenous crocodile who dotes on fresh fox chops. That's who," answered the bone. The wily fox was not as easily duped as the robbers. He saw no dangerous crocodile. He peered into Pearl's purse where the sound seemed to be coming from and pulled out the bone. "What? As I live and flourish," she exclaimed, "a talking bone! I've always wanted to own something like this." And he put the bone in his pocket where it roared and ranted to no avail. Pushing Pearl along, the fox set out for his hideaway. Pearl's sobs were so pitiful, the fox couldn't help feeling a little sorry for her. But he was determined she would be his dinner. "Please, Mr. Fox," Pearl whimpered, "may I have my bone back at least until I have to die?" "Oh, all right," said the fox, disgusted with himself for being so soft-hearted, and he handed her the bone, which she put back in her purse. "You must let this beautiful young creature go on living," the bone yelled. "Have you no shame, sir?" The fox laughed. "Why should I be ashamed? I can't help being the way I am. I didn't make the world." The bone commenced to revile the fox. "You coward," it sneered. "You worm, you odoriferous wretch." These expletives were annoying. "Shut up or I'll eat you," the fox snarled. "It would be amusing to gnaw on a bone that talks and screams with pain." The bone kept quiet for the rest of the way, and so did Pearl. When they arrived at the fox's hideaway, He shoved Pearl, with her bone, in an empty room and locked the door. Pearl sat on the floor and stared at the walls. "I know how you feel," the bone whispered. "Oh, I'm only just beginning to live," Pearl whispered back. "I don't want it to end." "I know," said the bone. "Isn't there something we can do?" Pearl asked. "I wish I could think of something," said the bone, "but I can't. I feel miserable." What's that?" Pearl asked. She heard some sounds from the kitchen. "He's sharpening a knife," the bone whispered. "Oh my goodness." "Oh, what's that noise?" "That sounds like wood being put into a stove," answered the bone. "Oh, I hope it all won't take too long," said Pearl. She could smell vinegar and oil. The fox was preparing a salad to go along with his meal. Pearl hugged the bone. "Bone, say something to comfort me." "You are very dear to me," said the bone. "Oh, how dear you are to me," Pearl replied. She could hear a key in the lock and was unable to get another word out of her throat or turn her eyes toward the door. "Be brave," the bone whispered. Pearl could only tremble. She was dragged into the kitchen, where she could see flames in the open stove. "I regret having to do this to you," sighed the fox. It's nothing personal." "Yabam," the bone said suddenly, without knowing why he had said it. "What was that?" said the fox, standing stock still. "Yabam sabibble," the bone intoned. "Jibrecken sabibble jigray." Something quite unexpected took place. The fox grew several inches shorter. "Alabam chinook bebop tikiboozle," the bone continued, and miraculously the fox became the size of a rabbit. No one could believe what was happening. Not Pearl, not the fox, not even the bone, whose words were making it happen. "Adonis ishkalabal kinakin yahap," it went. The fox, clothes and all, was now the size of a mouse. "Scrabonit," the bone ordered, and the mouse, that is, the minuscule fox, scurried away into a hole. "I didn't know you could do magic," Pearl breathlessly exclaimed. "Neither did I," said the bone. "Well, what made you say those words?" "I wish I knew," the bone said. "They just came to me. I had to say them. I must have picked them up somehow, hanging around with that witch." "Oh, you're an amazing bone," said Pearl. "This is a day I won't ever forget." It was dark when they reached Pearl's house. The moment the door swung open, she was in her mother's arms, and right after that in her father's. "Where on earth have you been?" they both wanted to know. "We were frazzled with worry." Pearl didn't know what to say at first. She held up the bone. "This bone," she said, "can talk." And just as she expected, her mother said, "A talking bone? Why, Pearl, it's only your imagination." And her father said something similar. And also, as Pearl had expected, the bone astonished them both by remarking, "You have an exceptional daughter." Before her parents had a chance to get over their shock, Pearl began telling the story of her day's adventure, and the bone helped out. It was all too much for Pearl's parents until they got used to it. The bone stayed on and became part of the family. It was given an honored place in a silver tray on the mantelpiece. Pearl always took it to bed when she retired, and the two chatterboxes whispered together until late in the night. Sometimes the bone put Pearl to sleep by singing or by imitating soft harp music. Anyone who happened to be alone in the house always had the bone to converse with, and they all had music whenever they wanted it, and sometimes even when they didn't. The end. I hope you liked that book. Okay, we ran out of time today, so next time we meet, I'll read those two other William Steig books. But just to review, we worked on the blend S-T, mushed together st sound. And we learned that the ST can be at the end of a word, fast. The beginning of a word, own. Or, from our very book that we read, own, bone. So you, my friends, did so well today. You're such good listeners. Thank you. And I can't wait to see you next time and read those two other William Steig books. Sylvester and the Magic Pebble, Caleb and Kate. I really couldn't tell you which of those three is my favorite. They're all so good. Okay, see you next time. Bye.